Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live here in Victoria, British Columbia aboard this old wooden motor cruiser, all the while fixing it up for some pretty extensive cruising. But I may have caused some confusion. Let me see if I can straighten that out. In the intro to this video, which you're about to see, and the closing, which is at the very end, which you'll see later, it shows a lovely wooden boat. But not this one. But it is in fact this one, which is my friend's very similar 36-foot wooden monk, which I've done a bit of work to over the years. But the reason it's in the intro and the end of the episode is because I have great footage of it because we've taken it cruising. Soon to be resolved by getting MV Geordie out cruising. So let's get on with it. We're gonna finish this bloody hanging locker today. And of course, by finished, I mean along far enough that at least is functional and I can start to use it. However, it is going to be a long time before I really get it finished because I have more structure and I have to put the hinges on, a couple more things. I just want to get to a point where I could throw some oil on it and it looked fairly nice so I can get a little instant gratification because, well, we all like a little instant gratification. So a few minutes ago, I was actually putting some oil on it and I ran out, so a quick trip to the Chandlers for some more tung oil, which you'll get to enjoy me putting on in a few minutes. Great, so we're waiting for the last panel to dry, which is getting pretty close to being dry, as well as the headpiece. So it's time we could spend some energy into starting to get the remaining panels squared up and pretty close to ready to go. I think I'll cut the top styles off all at once with all the four panels held together, but I can do the bottoms. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, I just need a big square. Gotta find a square. Perfect. Okay, so these are going to need a fair amount of sanding. No harm in doing that now. So I'm just going to gear up for that. I got to move the vacuum around. And there we go. Okay, that's it for the face sanding of the last panel, and now I'm just going to tidy up the insides and some of the squeeze out. So to put a little easing on the inside of the rail and style, I did some of it before I assembled it, but just to make sure it's uniform, I just grab a little bit of sandpaper and rub it on the edge, being very careful not to hit the panel in this direction against the grain, because you will put a scratch in that will show forever. So you got to be very careful as you do these. You don't put a scratch in that. In the other direction, no harm. You can just run it. In fact, I'll do it with the sanding block. But in against the grain, be careful. This has been tedious. Last time I talked to you guys was about 2 hours ago. I have sanded all the panels. This is the last of them, and it's been a bit of work. Holy moly. When I do work like this, I have a block with 4 assorted miters on it. One has a really tight corner. And the neat thing about using sanding discs, slightly used, is that you can just rotate them around. Once that part gets dull, just rotate it around a little bit and you get another sharp part. Rotate it around, another sharp part. And they're pretty tough, they hold on pretty well. So that's what I'm using to get into these corners here. And to break the edge into a bit of a chamfer. Perfect. Okay, well that's all 4 panels sanded up and ready to go. So now it's time to cut the horns off the top. Just a little bit daunting, all right? So let's set up for that. Ooh, this is gonna look so nice. Oh no. This is over here. This is here. And that's here. Now, for the first time, let's see how well these line up. Whoa. Let's see if I can still use this as a guide. Okay, so I'm going to mark these out to cut off the horns, or whatever you want to call these little extensions. What I'm going to do is put this on top and clamp them with my squeeze clamps. Very nice. Now, of course, this is a bit terrifying, but let's just jump right in, shall we? Very nice. Beautiful. Very good. Okay, now I want them to be all flush at the top for the alignment. However, the two doors in the middle will get sanded down a little more after, because they have to clear. They don't want to be rubbing up hard against the bead piece which is in here. But I want them all lined up pretty well to get started. All right then, well that worked out really well. What I'm going to do now is just throw them all in the table saw, just a skiff off the edge, just to make sure they're nice and square. And from then we can move on to finishing up the headpiece. I'm loving this, loving it, loving it. So again, all I'm going to do is just put them through just so that they're perfectly square side to side. I'm pretty sure they're awesome, but it's just a little something. Alright, while you lot were off getting your battery recharged, I was busy working here, building the little vanity pieces. Now, if you remember, on this door I put this little, I don't know what to call it, it's a little pediment piece. Anyway, I'm going to put more of them on here, about there somewhere. I'm still not quite exactly sure. So I made them up, and the way I did cut the little notch in the end is basically I just ran them through the table saw, making successive cuts, moving the fence further and further over, and then just a few minutes with a sander, and that's all set. So they're going to go about there. I'm just not quite sure I gotta play with a little bit to see what's going to be perfect. But anyway, they're made up, and I needed to do something while you guys were sleeping. Sorry. Okay, the other thing I did some of the preparing of the end of this, although I just need to do a little more planing on this. So I figured we could carry on with that now that, you guys are back. So this is pretty straightforward. I'm just taking the electric planer and running it along here until I get close, because I do not want to damage that. And then I will sand the rest of it. So let's do that. As usual, you always get to rev it. Now, of course, I'm completely guessing this angle. It's about that much, right? I can do one more. That's as far as I dare go. Very nice, because if I caught the blade in that little bit of end grain, boom! That'd be it. Okay, so down to sanding. That means I gotta set up my sanding recovery, dust recovery management system. Here we gotta go. Apparently, I've blown the breaker up in the marina bathroom. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. We only have 20 amps of power at this marina, and I was selfish enough to think I could plug the hot water heater back in while you guys were being recharged, and I forgot. Juggling power. Happily, I can stay nice and warm on 20 amps, but it's hard to make hot water and run power tools all at the same time. Okay, let's go. That is silky smooth right there. Excellent. I'd bung these screw holes if I could find my sapelli bungs that I've made up. I can't right now, but anyway, there's plenty of time for that. Yeah, so I think it's time to put these bead piece on the bottom and figure out how I'm going to miter this corner. Yeah. So, the bead piece is going to stick out in this direction about 1/4 inch, a little less, 3/16, just enough to show, excuse me, the bead. The reason I made it so wide is because I'll be able to attach a doorstop up here, which is probably going to be a little magnetic doorstop. And in the other direction, it also adds a little lip up in here that I may put a ceiling or a top piece in here. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to put a top in this at all. It may be that I don't, and it's just open at the top. I'll have to see it in place. The advantage of that is I'll have fantastic ventilation. The disadvantage, I don't know if there is a disadvantage. It'll be kind of weird because this will have lights in it. When I open it, lights will go on, but maybe the lights will, gotta think about it. Okay, so I think I'll just put this on at first with my pin nailer and the glue, obviously, and I'll follow up with some screws in places that it won't matter. Yeah. So I gotta start with a miter. Yep, everything starts with a miter. Let's do it. Holy mackerel! You'd think I'd have gotten better at this over the years. There we go. That'll be good. So that'll go on there like that. The other piece, which is right here, will go this way. So this needs the same deal. Look at me juggling this again. There we go. No blowout whatsoever. Excellent. So that'll sit right like that. And because I allowed, or I kept the angle of this parallel to the angle of that, this miter should fit perfectly once it's all flexed. Come on up, Peter. Flexed into place here. Oh yeah, that worked out really sweet. Really sweet. Okay, let me get geared up to install that. Okay. I could dry fit this all night long and not be content with it. Part of the problem I couldn't make it fit properly is because these two pieces of wood are not the same thickness. That's not a problem. I could run it through the table saw now and tidy that up, or let's just install it and I'll sand it to, it'll be just fine. So I'm going to start with the long one. And I'm going to line it up by simply lining it up over the miter in the wood below. I'm going to use this custom spacer that I made up specifically for this to give me my 3/16 projection at the front here. It'll be a glue up. I'll fill it with some pins, glue up, throw that one on, throw some pins in. Yeah, I think it's going to go just fine. Okay. Let's go. Now this does not need a lot of glue because I'd rather not clean up a whole lot of squeeze out. So, and I'd rather it didn't bounce around too much once I've already got it sort of in place. Use my little spacer. I'm going to say right there and right here. That's just because I don't want that coming apart. Okay, so let's work our way along. Okay, batteries died again. Obviously, I'm gonna have to get myself a spare GoPro battery. But I do want to keep going on this. What I'm trying to do is lay out these little vanity pieces or head pieces or whatever you want to call them, pediment, like we have on the door back there. The go-to would be in this style that the top panel ends up square. So in other words, the top panel, wherever you put this, it's the same height down, distance down, as the panel is wide. Now, with a really tall panel like these, I'm not sure that works. With the door, it worked just fine. Okay, we're back. So here we are. I have the panels now at roughly
thirds. So they're about a third of the way down the panel. This is the sort of thing I'm going to stare at right off the end of my bed for the rest of my life. I'm going for thirds. Alright, how simple could this be? I basically clamped a piece of wood so that they're all lined up. I just slap them all down, and for now I just put one pin in each corner. I'll be screwing these in from behind afterwards. So then, here's the acid test. I believe this is the last panel. If I place that where it's supposed to go, which is right about there. And this goes right about there. And that can now slide all the way. It's tight, but it's going to be okay. Because I want it tight. Part of what's going to help me hold this all in alignment is the fact that this is tight in here. Like it. I like it. I'm not going to let go of anything because this isn't the right length, but that looks awesome. Okay, lots more to do. All right, now some of you are going to find this completely hack, but again, I have to somehow create a support in space for these panels to be vertical. So what I've done, I've clamped a piece of wood on there, and I've clamped a piece of wood on here, and I've screwed them together in the middle. And if I put the level on down here, now unfortunately it's a 4-foot level, and I only have about 3 feet 11 of headroom here, but the level will work relatively well here. That is darn close to vertical. If I bring it down here, and I set where the level should be at the back of the panels, which is very close to there, I am very, very close to vertical. So basically, I'm getting a good starting point. I can fine tune it later. Okay, so as I put the doors on, of course, there's a great risk that these doors will fall off. So I'm going to have to figure some way, and I think I know what it's going to be, to make sure that they stay put. I can screw them at the bottom because they're going to screw up through this band here, but I don't want to do that yet. Gosh forbid they fall, because if that falls when there's a screw in the bottom, it's going to rip something apart in a way that I do not want to have to fix. All right, this just gets scarier and scarier, doesn't it? What's the next door? Professional attachment system I've got going here, around to there, underneath and around, and so that it can, hello airplane, sit on there like that. And I'll put another one on the other side. Now remember, this is gotta just barely hold, right? It's a gorgeous day here today, unbelievable. Had snow last week, and today we have this. Whoops, that's not gonna work. There we go. I feel confident that it's not gonna fall down. Yeah. All right, so the headpiece. I just want to start to get an idea of how it's going to fit. Okay, so now in theory, as long as this is in the right position, in other words, it's vertical, and let's put the level back on it to confirm that. It is pretty good. Now, you see me use a level in the boat. Well, on this axis, in other words, the bow, up, down, the boat is actually very, very level right now. So I'm perfectly content to use a level in this axis. Come on, you've all done precarious stuff like this before, haven't you? Beautiful, perfect. Okay, so here's the point now. I should be able to measure from this point to the bulkhead, and that will give me where I can cut off the side thing. 19.5 inches. Don't fall down while I'm doing that. Nah. Okay, so what I was measuring from was the face of the door, which is flush with the face of this. So if I put my 19.5 inches on right here, I should be completely safe. And I can tell you, since I spoke to you last, I have measured, remeasured, checked level, remeasured, and remeasured several times. Because if I get this cut wrong, I will cry for a week. How I'm going to hold that and make this cut, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to do it like this, obviously. Way up in the air.
5 degrees, super easy. Nice thing about a speed square, it'll give me 5 degrees pretty easy. I've already got the bead on here, so this does make this a little bit complicated. I know some of you are just going, I can't believe this crazy cutting in the air mess you're making here, Peter, but, and off we go. Oh. Should we go check? Okay. So when we get that up there and this along here, get this at 90 degrees, and oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful, perfectly lined up. I'm going to attach this to the bulkhead with some pocket screws from the back. Yes, I am. I know some people aren't fond of them, but they'll at least hold for now. And I'm going to put some pockets in here to attach up into there. The thing is, I don't want to put pocket screws in here because I'll be able to see them easily from in here. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to attach that, but let's just get it starting to come together a little bit more so I can make sure everything's in alignment. Yeah, this is starting to be a lot of fun. All right, now with the Craig pocket screw kit, you're familiar with this one I've shown you. Very handy for production work or work where you bring the wood to the jig. But there's also this cute little one that you can use to bring the jig to the work. And it just gets clamped on wherever you need it. So I'm just gonna clamp it on right here. And easy peasy. And there you have the first of the 2 little pocket screws I'm gonna put here. I'll put the other one in. Down here. Excellent. Now I have a tremendous amount of respect for true cabinet makers that would not use Craig screws, and it just echoes what I'm always saying is that I'm not a fine cabinet maker. I make okay looking stuff quick and easy. All right, so yeah, let's carry on. All right, so I've removed the end panel so I can put a couple of Craig pockets in here and one on the other side. Excellent. Let's go try them. I'll put this panel back in with my super patented tape retention system. Okay, and this thing goes up here. It may still be a bit tight at the top. We'll see what it feels like. Right like that. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Right on, that's right on. Very nice. All right, so this is absolutely close, really close. So what I'm going to do is take the panels down again, undo my super patented tape holding system, and just trim the top of this. Like I have a bit of a gap here. It's actually accentuated because this door is too high, but this is loose in here. I need a little bit of sanding in there and just a little sanding in here to adjust that curve to make it perfect. Slow, fiddly, but worth it in the end. All right, I have done a ton of adjusting, trimming, sanding, getting it just so. And it is now pretty much in exact, the headpiece is in exactly the right. This panel is perfect, the headpiece is perfect. This piece just needs, I have a strong 16th here. I just need to sand this edge down a little bit here. And then I'll infill the doors, making sure that the width is right, and sand the tops of those. It's a pile of work. Perfect. Yes, I ended up putting a couple of pocket screws in the back side of these up into the head. And yes, I'll have to do something about hiding them in this direction. But to make it strong, it was absolutely required. It is now relatively bulletproof. There'll be more pieces that go in, but it's solid, it's square, it's exactly where it needs to be. So now I just have to adjust the heads of the 2 doors and get them to fit as perfectly as the 2 side panels do. Good gosh, I'm having a lot of fun. Okay, well, I've got both doors fitting perfectly. So pleased about it. I'm going to leave it for tonight because I'm just going to run both doors through the table saw to just slightly reduce them because they need a little bit of clearance to open and close. They kind of pop in right now. And then tomorrow morning we'll get some oil on this and it's gonna look like $1,000,000. Not that it's anywhere close to being done, but I need the instant gratification. Maybe you guys could use it too. There's lots to do. I still need to make whatever panel goes in here. There's lots of structural stuff. Of course, I'm gonna have to gain for hinges.
always a load of fun. Gotta figure out how I'm making the bottom part of the wet line. Anyway, it's an ongoing project, but I'm gonna call it pretty close for now. I'll get a rod in the next couple of days and I can start using it, and that's gonna be great. Good night, see you in the morning. I didn't think I was going to put you through putting the tongue oil on here because I've showed you this all so many times. But then I realized when I ran out of oil and had to go get some more that I may not have explained to more recent viewers the finish that I put on everything I make. And I always put a first coat, both inside and outside, of tongue oil on before I put any other finish. Outside I put Epiphane's varnish. Inside I put actually a wipe on poly. More on that later, but it's a great finish. But anyway, so here's the bottle I've been working with for a while, which ran dry on me an hour ago, and I went to the Chandler's, got another one. Now I use a product, they're calling it Island Teak, pure teak oil. This is from a company on Vancouver Island. It's largely tongue oil with some teak wax in it, which is a byproduct, or at least they extract it from teak they make, because they also do a lot of teak milling for the marine industry. Anyway, it's a lovely tongue oil. So let's get a little more of this on here and give it a rub down and finally get to see what this thing looks like. It's looking pretty good now, isn't it? I just love it. Okay, let me get going here. I am starting the process of getting oil on here simply by mopping it on with a cheap brush, and then I rub it in after. Now, I got some grief a couple of episodes ago using such a cheap brush that loses all its hairs all the time, and well, it does. But it's an oil finish. All I'm trying to do is get it uniformly everywhere into all the little crevices, which is hard to do with rubbing. But with a brush, it does such an excellent job of getting it down in there. This is a rub finish. Once I've got all the oil on, I'm going to take a cloth and give it the proper rub down, spread it around. And because it's an oil, any little hairs off the brush basically just wipe right off. So there's one right there, not worried about it at all. Basically, this step is just to get oil all over it. My gosh, I love this Sapelli mahogany. I love it. So now I just gotta keep an eye on this over the next hour or so, and basically just make sure any dry spots get a little more oil, and this is gonna look just fabulous. I love it. Well, hello and welcome to the beer of the week. Isn't this looking fantastic? The first little ray of sunshine, and a little bit of a hair there, to come in on my new hanging locker. I'm so thrilled. As you know, it is not done, but it is far enough along. I can put the hinges on the next couple of days, put a rod in, and start using it. I'm thrilled by it. So let's get to the beer. This is Hoptimistic. I thought that sounded a little bit interesting, and it's from a brewery up the island here. I just have to look at my notes, remember, because I can't read it off it. It's Mount Arrowsmith, up on Vancouver Island, and this is considered a Belgian New England IPA, so might be just absolutely fantastic. I'm optimistic. Cheers. Okay, I'm looking forward to this beer. This has been a long day, and it's only half over. Some of you may be aware that this is a 2-episode weekend because I'm trying to get a week ahead so my lovely patrons can have a week ahead. So this is my second beer of the week in as many hours. Not quite. Cheers. Ooh. When you see a label like that, be warned. This is drinkable, but I would say that's about it. Yeah, no, yeah. Anyway, well, it would have been lovely to go out on a bang, would have been absolutely fantastic, but that's not a very good beer. This is, oh, look at the sunshine coming in. I'm just loving it. Anyway, okay, I gotta wrap this short. Thanks so much. You guys need a word of the week, and I haven't even thought of it yet. I think it's about time I use mahogany. Yes, mahogany is the word of the week. If you'd like to win a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, use the word mahogany in a comment down below, and I'll pick through the first 24 hours worth of comments, and if I pick you, you'll get a Travels with Geordie t-shirt. I can't believe it. I just love this thing. Cheers. See you next week.